All right, the time is 7 o'clock. I call the September 27, 2023 Village of Suffern Planning Board meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, first item on the agenda is 156, 160 Wayne Avenue multifamily project.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. On behalf of Peter Gandon and Associates, the applicant for this project, my name is Dan Richmond from the law firm Zarin and Steinmetz, 81 Main Street, White Plains, New York. And with me this evening is Peter Gandon Jr. This evening we're here for a 41-unit multifamily building, 2.5-story in the MR15 zoning district at 156, 160 Wayne Avenue. All the 41 units would be studio apartments. You may recall we were here before you a couple of years ago for a larger project, a 52-unit building that required a number of variances. The instant project is completely zoning compliant and still contains the amenities that we proposed at that time, both for the community proposed for the building as well as the wider community, including a bike room, gym, community room, storage area, open grass area, and a game room. We are focused on developing the front half of the building, front half of the property, which is flat, so as not to disturb the sensitive and natural landscaped area. We believe this project is consistent with the town's official goals, including contributing to the revitalization of the downtown and providing much needed affordable housing in the area. I don't know if you'd like Peter to walk through the plan. I would like to address, I saw on the agenda there was a referral to the village board proposed. If you'd like me to address that first. Sure. Respectfully for the record, that referral, I don't believe your board has any jurisdiction to make that referral. Again, the zoning law is evident on its face, what it says. Frankly, we're aware that the clerk has taken, or some portion of the village have taken the position that there was a condition imposed on the rezoning in 2011, which is not reflected in the law as in your books or in the code as filed with the Secretary of State. I think the fact that your board would need to make a referral to the village board to understand or to somehow tease out this condition shows why, as we explained in our letter to your board on August 2023 of this year, that it's any assertion that that condition is imposed would be not survive a constitutional challenge as being violative of due process. Again, if your board doesn't understand or can't tease that condition out on the face of the statute, it would be removed from an applicant to understand that. Also, as you know, any ambiguity in the code is construed in favor of an applicant, but ultimately, again, the village board, they have no authority. They're not an appeal board for your board. They're not authorized to interpret the code. You have a zoning board that does that, but we have no basis to be referred to the zoning board. But I'd like to, again, focus on the merits of this application, which we think are strong, and have Mr. Gandon present the application.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, just as long as we're on it, I mean, have you looked at the minutes from when the law was passed?
The minutes aren't in the statute. The minutes aren't on the books. Again, Rob, if it were evident on its face, there would be no need for a referral to the village board. And I think, honestly, the agenda is would be Exhibit A in any lawsuit, because if the planning board doesn't understand what the statute says, then you can't expect an applicant to do that either.
Well, look, you can if you want to, seek relief either with the zoning board of appeals, but I mean, the motion specifically says it's subject to site plan approval, number of units not to exceed 24, and that the site plan be in substantial conformity to the conceptual plan presented to the village board. I mean, that was a condition of approval.
Rob, that's, again, our client, when it bought the property, would have had no way of knowing that. Again, I think anyone doing their basic due diligence wouldn't have uncovered that, because it's not in the code that's on your books. It's not in the code as filed with the Secretary of State. Again, at best, you're pointing to an ambiguity, which by law needs to be resolved in favor of an applicant, in favor of private property rights. But again, we have no basis, we haven't been denied anything to go to the zoning board. The village board has no authority to interpret the code. They pass legislation, and thereafter, if there's any question about the zoning ordinance, if, for example, the building inspector issues a denial, then someone can appeal that to the zoning board. But there's nothing in the code that authorizes your board to refer anything, and case law that, there have been attempts over the years where to have a municipal board serve as sort of a, supervisory or appellate board for site plan review, and the boards have rejected that. Where the village board has delegated site plan review to a planning board, it remains with the planning board to do a site plan. And that's what we'd like to discuss this evening, is our site plan, which we think has a lot of merit. And, we submitted this letter in August, as we previously advised. There's a 62-day time period for your board either to initiate a public hearing or act on the application. So we're looking to, again, review this project, which we think has a lot of merit and would bring a lot of value to the village and its residents and people desiring to move here.
If you want to proceed with presenting it to the board, and the board can take appropriate action, whatever it deems fit, and again, whether that is when you say referring to the village board, it was not for purposes necessarily of a ruling per se, but again, the basis for the zone change, it's clear what the intent was, and I understand what you're saying, what's in the book, but, this happens all the time, that zoning decisions are given conditional approvals, which have been upheld, so I don't know that it's going to be resolved tonight, I can tell you that, and it might not,
It's probably not going to be resolved tonight, but again, the agenda says it's referral to the village board for clarification and interpretation. I'm not aware of any law that says that a village board has that authority under, the code or village law.
All right.
But we'd like to present our application. And again, I think, under the statutory time periods, we'd like to go ahead and process this application. Here, if there are, substantive comments on the site plan application itself.
Okay.
Peter, do you want to hear it?
Yeah, we'll definitely hear it.
Thanks so much. I know you have it back. I'm just going to kind of run through what's there.
Does Peter, you need
to go up.
Yes.
you need the microphone, right?
On this side. Let's see, is this better? Is this better? Okay. This is going to be possible, but... hello, Mr. Chairman, Board, thanks for seeing us tonight. With me, I have larger versions of the packet that was submitted earlier today, or a few weeks ago, but also I have a supplemental site plan which is adjusted, and I can pass that to the board as well. Essentially, it's an enhanced version of what the site plan shows, reflective of the comments that were received earlier today, mainly in the fact of where the fire hydrants are. There are some conditional ideas about the turning radius circle, which was increased already, it fits, and then a couple other items like that. So I can pass this out to the board, or how do you want to? Okay, thanks. Let's see. Thank you. So what you have here, and this is the one that I'm showing you there, essentially, but we have the building situated in the front. with a grass section. We try to replicate in terms of architectural scale and character what's in the neighborhood. So essentially you have a front lawn, a frontage building look to the front of the building, and then it kind of disappears into the site. The long version, similar to the other multifamily buildings adjacent to it, down Wayne. Parking is one single drive inside there. There was just as a point of clarification, the note said that after 500 feet, you need a 96-foot radius, turning radius circle. Ours is only 380 feet, so it's less than the 500 as per stated, but we did manage to show you in the black and white you're folding as a 96-foot radius circle should you want that. That accommodates the T19 fire apparatus. Also in there, I noted the fire hydrants. There's one at Stewart Circle, and there's one in the front of Stewart Circle too. So there's two just south of the site. And the way the building is designed, and sort of a modest approach to the site, we made it as compact as possible and allowed the parking and the grass areas surrounding it to be situated again more like a traditional residential house. Screening along the side, as well as on the.
Can you talk it into the microphone?
It's hard. I don't know how to present. It's hard to sort of. Yeah. Okay, I'll do by memory. The building itself, as you can see, is situated so that there's frontage along Wayne. There's a public amenities. We envision the dog park being used for all the neighbors as well. There's a grass area in between. And the building itself has amenities below that in the basement level. And we are aware of the rattlesnake up in the hill, as cited in the short form. And you can't tell, there's a wall along the turning radius, so we'd fence that off so those snakes don't come down there. The parking is set up along the perimeter with, we envision porous pavers and a hybrid grass-crete system, so it's more natural. And this allows for better drainage as well, and provides more of a grassy look rather than a sea of asphalt to the entire site. There's a couple of communication sidewalks that connect the parking to the various building entrances on all three sides. And there's handicapped parking in the front. And a gazebo we put in the front of the building also for aesthetics, for look, and we find that other communities like it for in case there's school children or somebody waiting for a bus stop or such to keep themselves out of the rain. Totally. So I'll just run through the interior for a bit. The top level is, I think you have in your packet, is the basement amenities level, and we're situating the amenities level so that there's a clear story of 3 feet around the property, around the entire building, so natural light will be getting inside there. And the typical spaces you'd find inside the multifamily building for some rentable spaces, some flexible spaces, bicycle storage, gym, yoga center, things like that. And the bottom image there is the ground floor plans, fairly simple. It's a centered entrance, main hallway connecting, and then residences on either side of a double-loaded corridor, or a single-loaded corridor. And
You're just overloading the mic a little bit. If you take a half a step back.
yeah, sure. How's this, better? Okay. So the upstairs is essentially the top floor here. There's a series of studios along the top floor, and then we're making use of the attic eave portion of the building to have a little bit of a tiny loft space in some of the units here. So the bottom level is some of the units have a secondary little access point from within inside the unit, and the rest of them are just on the second floor traditionally like you would have at any other studios. So just to kind of run through the elevations again, the bottom center image on this page, you have A105. That's the front view from Wayne. So we're driving by, again, we try to make it look sort of like a nice celebrated house, residential architecture to complement the architecture both in the multifamily zones sections, buildings to our left, or to the south rather, and then up along Wayne Avenue as well. And then the building, as you can see, has a bit of undulating, so it's not a flat box like other buildings, other multifamilies do. So we're conscious of breaking up the scale and the massing so that there's some nice shadow lines, and some have balconies, some do not. But it creates a nice rhythm, and as you're passing by in a car, or even enjoying living there in the complex, it's a sort of a series of a couple different houses and connected all together. The color choice was that also to reinforce the playing as well, so that the lighter colors are sort of the images you see first and the housing you see next, and the grayish and taupe areas would be replicative of shadows and shade, and it helps break up again the building in terms of massing. And a couple different views you see here. Existing photos, you know. And then we just have, a couple, and just a building section to show how it would work. Again, the bottom left is the amenities level, and the ground you see in the darker color with the light well windows, apartments on either side, center corridor, and the typical unit floor plan, which is in the middle there. So we also, we're conscious of snow removal. There's areas we plan on the site plan to keep the snow away and have it plowed and pushed off there. We have garbage and recycling set up in a certain way so it's accessible, then it's not out of the way, and it's avoiding smells and potential odors and such. The ground, of course, we're going to look at as a civil engineering world to make sure everything's taken care of. Introduce rain gardens where we can, and take care of the water or the other parts of the site as well as wherever we have to. And we have enough parking for all the units, plus a couple extra guest spaces.
How many spaces total do you have?
I believe it is, I forget now. Okay, we go. I'm sorry. We had, let's see. I can't see this. Do you have your dialogue there? What's that? I can't see a number. 82 total? Yeah.
Parking spaces, 5
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that's right. We have 82 total. It's on the chart there, sorry. I know we were playing with five of which of ADA. So 82 spaces, 82, and 5 of which are designated for ADA.
Okay. Did you get the fire inspector's comments?
I did.
Okay, so you have those, turning radius and the signage, et cetera?
Yep. So the other version I gave you has that. So I looked at the several that were there, and you'll see marked in there the fire hydrants, and the turning radius is increased to 96 feet.
Okay. So do any members of the board have any comments or questions they'd like to ask or make?
I had a quick question. So despite all the legal discussion at the beginning, I just want to make sure I understand why you're here. Are you here for a new site plan approval or to amend the previous site plan approval?
Good question. So we were here 2 years ago? 2 years ago. And for a different building, a larger building that Dan mentioned earlier. So that obviously the architecture of the building is totally changed. It's a much smaller, shorter, narrower building conforming with everything here. So it's essentially a new site plan application. The building location is sort of roughly where it was in terms of parking one way in, one way out, but essentially it's a new site plan application.
Okay. And you're going to submit an environmental impact statement or a short form?
Yes.
Submitted.
All of that stuff?
Yes, we submitted a long-form environmental assessment form. That's part of the package. The complete application we submitted in August. So one of the actions we'd ask your board this evening is to initiate coordinated review.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I have a quick question. What we just were given,
Microphone,
I'm sorry.
please.
Sure, sorry. The paperwork we were just given is dated 6/8/21, but this doesn't represent anything changed since then?
Oh, sorry. The date wasn't updated. It was just a typo. The date is just a typo. It was updated this morning.
Okay.
Apologies for that.
Any other comments, questions? Where's that? Yeah, you say it. I mean, I think there are some questions about the legality. My suggestion is that we adjourn to the next meeting. And, you know, just for further consideration, and the village board may want to weigh in on this as well. You know, there's a zoning issue and, you know, the other things that were brought up. It also needs to go to the building inspector. We do have the fire inspector's comments. So I think we should consider adjourning it to the next meeting so that we can sort of resolve some of these outstanding questions.
When is your next meeting, Mr. Chair? Just to point out, as I noted to Rob earlier, under the statute and the village code, there's a 62 period upon submission of a complete application. By our calculations, that 62-day period runs until October 24th.
Well, you know, that's assuming you have a completed application. Right now, I mean, the secret has not been, we haven't even circulated for secret. I mean, you're not entitled to a decision within 62 days of you submitting an application. You know that. So I don't think that, you know, look, you're taking a position the clock is running, I'm taking a position it's not. So when's the next meeting?
Would be the 18th of October.
Which isn't going to give us 30 days.
Well, to your point, Rob, can the board initiate SECRA, start the coordinated review now, declare intent to be lead agency?
Yeah, it's up to the board. I don't know that it's ready for that. I think the board wants to, and again, I'll poll the board, but I think they want to put it over.
Well, the SECRA regs say they got to make a determination of, you know, and proceed on
If you
that.
want to bring it to court, you can certainly bring it to court. We're putting it over 1 month, which I think is quite reasonable. The application came in August. If you want to bring a case to court when an application just came into the clerk in August, and we're putting this on till October, you know, be my guest. But I think that it's certainly reasonable for this board to take it under consideration and put it over till October, so.
Well, certainly, but again, there's nothing holding them back from proceeding with the application while they consider it a proactive consideration.
You want to adjourn it? You want to adjourn it? Yeah. So you want to make a motion on it?
Do we have a motion to adjourn this matter to the October meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Mr. Doyle. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Halper. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. So we'll put this on the calendar for the 18th of October.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you. Are we doing that? What are we doing?
No, yes.
Which one?
Or do you want to
All right, we'll leave it to the end. Okay, we're going to go to number 3 on the agenda, Danita's. Mr. Ellsworth.
Excuse me? I'm not
she?
I got an email from Yehudas.
Yeah, well, we can't say you can't come, but.
Well, you want to just do it then and,
You can't come, we can't.
what do you want to do, Robert?
Whatever you want.
All right, we'll talk to Mr. Ellsworth and then we'll call you. We didn't realize you were here.
No problem.
My apologies.
I don't want to take the podium if I'm not allowed.
No, you're allowed.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, good evening, board members, Mr. Magrino, Madam Clerk, Richard Ellsworth for the applicant. I think, I've been here along with my client on an informal several months ago. We have an application before you. To start, I will acknowledge that the application needs some revision, and we're happy to do that. I will be also happy to set forth our position or our plan to you, but again, I'm here a second time. I've provided a narrative to you, and that narrative is clear that my client, Danina's Restaurant, is seeking to expand to include permanent outdoor dining, just as it was, or very similar to as it was during the pandemic waiver, if you call it. The deficiencies, I don't know if you'd like me to go through tonight because there hasn't been a GML. I don't know if we'd have that back for next meeting. I would assume we couldn't, even if you wanted to and I wanted to, have a final decision tonight. The outdoor dining issue is somewhat particular to my client, but maybe not unique. He has a unique situation with respect to the side yard. He does attract many different clientele from a far-reaching area. And certain of those establishments have left Suffern for establishments that are attracting from within the community. People that can walk to the restaurant, walk to dine, as opposed to clientele coming from outside the area, such as Bergen County, Westchester County, Passaic County, etc., Orange County. The outdoor dining or outdoor table and chairs permit, which is was very generous of the village, and not this board, another board obviously, to allow, just with respect to that, that statute, falls short for my client. He wants to stay in Suffern, and he's asking for that relief from this board, probably from the village board as well, with respect to parking, and that's obviously going to be a discussion here, and it probably a referral to the village board. Seems to me that the 266 did not change drastically from the text that occurred earlier this year. It still exists and still allows the village board to review and suggest money in lieu of parking. We also are prepared to show that we have additional parking at other locations. I don't want to go into that at the moment because that will be in a revised plan, but we do have private locations that are willing to do that, to alleviate if in fact this board has that concern. I would point out though that I respect that concern, but it has been for several years now working fairly smoothly. With respect to the fire inspector and the, I believe it was an email addressed to you, Mr. Gandon, or to the board, certainly we will include the address of the neighboring property, which we have a long-term lease with the owner.
Did you submit that, Rich? I'm sorry. Did you can you submit that as part of the application?
I will.
Or something? So
that's what I certainly will add that. I have reached out and waiting for a response from an engineer, architect, to give you more detailed plans of the outdoor dining area. There was a reference to an open violation. I think that's, due respect to building department and board, sort of a circular argument. We're here because of that, and we'll hopefully get to a point where, if in fact the violation goes away with the help of this board, or if we are forced into justice court here to resolve it while this board is deliberating, we're certainly happy to do that. My client is here, Mr. Zuniga, who is the owner, or one of the owners of Danina's Restaurant. It should be clear that the applicant is actually Zuniga Corp. as opposed to Danina's Restaurant, but I think the board and the residents of the village know it best as Danina, so I'll be referring to it more often than not as that. I have little for this board other than to, I guess, throw myself at your mercy as to what you're looking for right now, other than what I've suggested I will do. Our engineer was unavailable tonight, but she did prepare the seeker. That's before you. I believe that's sufficient. I believe that once the GML and 30 days have elapsed, this board should declare itself lead agency with respect to that and find no undue environmental impact. And I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm thinking of two different locations, but this is a public hearing, right? Or no?
We don't do public hearings.
Don't do public hearing. Okay, that's at the board's discretion?
When they
Okay.
decide to set it, yes.
Very good. I'm certainly willing to field questions.
I just have two quick. One, you said the apparent waiver, at the end of your letter, you say, despite the apparent waiver of planning board approval for other establishments, do other establishments have something similar?
Well, it is an outdoor dining. I think it's clear in the code, although I just wanted to point out that there are at least a dozen, I foiled them all, who sought and received special permit for outdoor dining.
The administrative permit?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Because but you're saying that is not sufficient for you?
Well, I don't want to be combative on it, Rob. I want the board to realize that our position is that any expansion per your code to anywhere, including outdoor, would trigger potentially a need to come before this board. We're the only one here.
No, but you said it yourself, that the others, do all of them have an administrative permit?
As do we, yes.
Right, but they don't have, you want to use a tent. And you
Well,
want
we
to use
haven't,
it
we haven't,
all year round, right?
well, we haven't discussed what the structure, so to speak, will be. I'm sorry you're concentrating on that one sentence. It's not meant to criticize this board at all. It's meant to point out the fact that other establishments have expanded. And I think it's regardless of the permit process, they are a restaurant in the village, and they're allowed to serve outdoors. That's an expansion. That's all I'm saying.
Right, under the administrative permit.
Okay, if that's...
Right,
Sure.
but you said the administrative permit didn't meet your needs, right?
The administrative permit does not meet our needs.
Right, so that's why they didn't have to come, right?
No, I'm not going to be cross-examined in that sense. My position is they would have to come anyway, but that's not for this board to determine. That's for the village board. All right, if you expand a business...
Well, I mean, you put it forward as an argument as to...
I'm not arguing that.
I'm not sure why, but...
My point is that the village code requires planning board approval for an expansion of a business in CB. It's very clear. I don't believe the village board by resolution can absolve that code. But again, we're here, and this is why we're here.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, you know, you're talking about SECRA and county planning and stuff. There's no plan, right? Don't you need a plan?
Well, you do have a plan, but we're going to update that plan.
I'm not sure. When you say a plan, you mean the one at the end? It's a
The 8.5 by 11 that you have there?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll provide something better for this board to look at.
And I think that's one with your narrative. Yeah, and I think, you know, with the plan, which will show presumably whatever your client wants to do there, maybe a narrative just describing exactly what it is. They want to have, you know, because I don't know, they want a tent, they want a...
Right. Well, once we have that architectural drawing, we'll describe it in writing as well.
Right, if you could put it, just do a narrative, I suggest that. Okay, that's all right.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? No questions, no comments, anyone? So when will we be getting a formal plan, Mr. Ellsworth?
Actually, I was going to ask your clerk how much time she needs, but I can have it, and I think I can have it within 2 weeks. So is that sufficient for the October meeting?
It's usually 2 weeks before the meeting that we have to have.
Okay. I will endeavor to have that, and if I don't, I will certainly let you know in advance so we don't waste anyone's time.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? So I would suggest that we adjourn this to the next meeting, and you can furnish us with a plan, and we can go from there.
Very good. What is the date of the next
That
meeting?
would be the 18th, I believe, of October. Is it the 18th, 16th? Yeah. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn this matter to the October 18th, 2023? We have a motion, we have a second. Second, Mr. McInerney, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
See you next month, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, sorry, we're gonna go to AidCon. My apologies, we were under the impression that you weren't coming, so.
My assistant should have you know that.
And please state your name and address for the record.
Leah Fryman. Our address here is 71 and 73 Lafayette. We purchased 71 Lafayette in December, and we fixed it up to rent out. A part of it is for our company, and the rest we're renting out to small businesses. And we'd like to do the drive-through of 73 Lafayette and make it into a parking lot.
Did you need your name?
No.
Yeah, could you just repeat your name, please, just for the
Sure.
record?
Leah Fryman.
And you're with who?
ITCON?
So you've renovated the old Provident Bank building?
Yeah.
What'd you do with the vault?
Sorry?
What'd you do with the vault?
So we actually left it there. It's a really cool door, so we left it
cool.
there, and it's our lab right now.
That's what I was, what is it?
It's a lab for our technicians. We're an IT and cybersecurity company.
No, I thought it would be kind of cool. I'm glad you left it.
It was actually covered with sheetrock, and we were like, what's going on here? There must be a dead space in there, so we opened it up and we found
Yeah, the
it.
previous owner must have done it because, yeah, it was a bank and then somebody else bought it.
Yeah.
So in fact, the chamber office used to be upstairs in the back.
Oh, nice.
So how many parking spaces are you making, and do you know what the requirement for the number of parking spaces is?
Yeah, so we hired Paul Gdansky. You familiar with him?
Yes.
Yeah, so he helped us out with everything that we need. The plan that Steve Briggs, he does the landscaping, and he was planning it. He told us we can get 10 spaces.
Okay. Do you know what they need, what they require?
In terms of what?
Parking?
I'm not sure as I sit here. Well, it'll have to get referred to everybody. But,
Okay.
you mentioned Paul Gdansky. Somebody contacted me. Was that you? Somebody contacted me
When,
on
how
your
long ago?
behalf. I thought it was either, did you have an attorney, maybe, helping you?
I don't think so. I have two assistants that are taking care of it, so I'm not sure. But it could have been me a while ago. Was it like right after we purchased the building?
No, it was recently.
No, and then it wasn't me. What was it about?
I'll see if I have it.
The attorney is
It might be a different project, so.
Isaac Shiner.
It says off-street parking not required for 266-38. Is that what that says?
Oh, it's a different project, sorry.
Sorry?
You know what that says? I should have looked at 14 spaces.
Sorry, I can't hear.
We can't hear you.
It says
14 spaces.
on your drawing, per section 266.38, off-street parking not required. I was just asking what that text says.
I don't know.
Rob, do you have that?
I don't have it. Okay.
Right up front, Rob. Is this the right one? 14 spaces.
He's saying what, though?
Is 14 spaces? I thought he told me 10, but yes, we were hoping to get as many spaces as possible.
Yeah, this is 14.
He's looking to get 14. I don't know if that would fit there.
So we've got to find out how many.
Well, yeah, that would be, he does have on there about the variances that would be required in the existing conditions. So, you know, they have everything they need, but frankly, for at least moving it forward. So my suggestion would be, if you want to entertain declaring your intention to serve as lead agency, circulate it to county planning and the building department, and Joanne will circulate it as appropriate for GML and see what we get back by the 18th.
All right, do we have a motion to declare the Village of
Intention
Suffern?
is to be lead agency.
Sorry, yeah, the intention to be the lead agency, the Village of Suffern Planning Board. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Stanbridge. We have a second. Second, Mr. McInerney. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries.
Sorry, if you can just explain that in plain English?
Yeah, we
Sorry.
have to, the documents have to be circulated to the county and a number of other agencies, and they have 30 days to comment, so we would, actually 30 days, the 18th isn't gonna.
No, so we can put it till November.
All right, so we're gonna put this over to November, and they comment, and then you come back and we go from there.
Okay, great, thank you so much.
I'm gonna need more copies of the drawing. Can you let Paul know?
Yeah, sure, so,
How many agencies is this gonna go to? State, DOT, county? At least 4, so
Yeah.
if you could get me at least 5 copies, so we...
like the big ones?
Building department. of
Sure,
course.
my assistant will print it out in this local store.
What do you want, 5 copies?
Yeah.
5 copies of the drawings, perfect, thank you so much.
And that'll be November 15th?
Yeah, let's double check. Yeah, that would be November 15th.
I mean, I'm in touch with them.
Yeah, but it'll be November 15th, just so you know.
All right. Okay, next up on the agenda is Le Chocolat. How are you?
Apparently, the rest of my team is not here tonight.
You talking to that mic?
Yes. Apparently, the rest of my team is not here tonight, so I'm going to present as the architect.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Robert Bernstein, Principal of Build Architecture, and I'll be presenting this project to you. Okay, this is a project that was previously brought in front of you. My understanding is that it was more based on the easements and the legal ramifications of the project. What we wanted to do tonight is to present it to you architecturally, what the idea of the project is, and then we want to see if we can move forward with it positively. If you have seen the narrative.
I'm sorry, who's your team? You are who? You're with Le Chocolat?
I'm the architect.
Oh, you're the architect.
I'm the architect, yes. The site engineer was not able to make it tonight. Our attorney was not able to make it tonight.
Who's the attorney?
Ira Emanuel.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. So Le Chocolat has been in the community for many years. They manufacture chocolates that are shipped out on a continuing basis. His business has expanded to the point where he needs to expand the business and expand the manufacturing and storage. Prior to COVID, He was able to produce chocolates and ship them out to all the stores. However, after COVID, they don't want to keep anything in-house, so he is forced to store a lot of the chocolates at his factory. He's basically run out of room to be able to do that. In looking at the site plan, there's two parts to this project. The first part is the building itself. Right now, at the front part of the building on Ramapo Avenue, the building is 1 story plus a basement, and the back of the building is a 1 story at grade. In front of the building in the back is the concession stand for the ball fields across the way. I think initially the idea was to, because it's a flood area, this area does flood a lot, is to take the concession stand and come up with the idea of moving it into the building, and then we can mitigate the flooding within the building, so that way the concession stand would not get flooded anymore. We re-looked at that and decided that the concession stand is not going to be moved in conjunction with what the village wants. We're going to leave the concession stand where it is. The issue of flooding, though, in that back 10,000 square feet of warehouse space is still an issue that we have. That issue partly drives the architectural plan. So the idea for the architectural plan is to add a manufacturing floor as a second floor. So we're going to take the Ramapo Avenue first floor, extend it all the way back over the existing building, add an additional floor over that. And if you look at the architectural plans, you can see that we have, I'm going to get to the back. You can see with the elevations, we're adding 1 story over the entire building, but a 3rd floor on top of that would only be part of a 3rd floor. It's going to be for their offices. We also set it back off the street so it doesn't look like a 3-story building right on Ramapo Avenue. Another part of the building within the concept of this building is a small cafe. The idea is to be able to either sell coffee, donuts, and also maybe to sell his chocolates for the commuters. The other part of the building, which it's complicated because it's landlocked, is shipping and deliveries. The shipping on the north side of the site won't change. I know the village code required for this building 5 bays, but we want to only keep the bays that are there. We don't want to add more shipping bays at the back of the building. There is a proposal with this to add a parking garage to the residential site that's adjacent to it, that's adjoining the property. The reason is because he needs parking for his employees. The original thought was to create a 3-story structure. The first story would be below ground because it's a steep site and we could put it completely below ground. The middle story would be at grade where you just come in from the street, and then 1 story on top of that. Part of the reason to need the second story for the parking structure is his manufacturing needs to be done all on 1 floor, on that second floor. So we created the receiving area for all the chocolates and supplies on the parking deck. So that just means that architecturally and engineering-wise, we would have to design the parking deck to take that load. And our client is fully aware of that. But based on the way the building is and the way he manufactures, it's probably the only way for him to get this done. So, walking through the plan, one of the other things that was changed from the original submittal is the lower level parking garage. He wants to keep it open, possibly for use in the future if it's required for parking, but to use it for storage. The issue of the 10,000 square foot in the back of the building flooding all the time means he can't use it for manufacturing. We can mitigate the flooding issue, but with the equipment in there, it runs the risk of ruining millions of dollars worth of equipment. So it's going to be used for storage only, and the storage can be built 3 feet off the ground if we needed to, put the racks and have everything above the grade. So, but he still needs more storage because he does a lot of chocolate manufacturing and he has no storage to do it. So if we have one full story of manufacturing, we need a lot of storage for that manufacturing. The other part is on the second floor for the manufacturing, he's not necessarily increasing manufacturing, but the way the existing building is now, it's all in piecemeal and everybody's on top of everybody else. So better equipment, safer areas to work in. He will have some kind of a small baking kitchen in there for testing. So right now, I think it's more in the center of the building and just 4 walls of sheetrock around it. So we want to make a real manufacturing floor, and we need the space to do it. And then for the offices, he needs offices, and I mean, everybody needs offices for what he's doing. Right now, again, he's cramped into a small slice of offices where everybody's on top of each other. So what we're looking to do is to show you what we'd like to do, get some feedback, whether positive or negative, and then that can drive our next step. So, thank you.
Are you prepared to show us tonight, or just?
Well, do you have a copy of do you have the plans here? Because that should have been submitted.
Yeah.
So again, this is preliminary, so we just wanted to get the feedback so we know where to take this. Like, if there's an issue, I know there's going to be an issue with drainage. Our site engineer resolved that by adding dry wells in the back of the building so we have zero runoff, so we're not actually putting it into the street at all.
So where is it going?
So it's going on the west side of the property right behind the building. There's an area of about 30 feet wide along the back of the building that is perfect to have these dry wells set.
But if it floods, my question is, if it floods back there, how's it going to contain runoff when it floods? It's not going to, it's going to overflow, isn't it?
So that's a very good question. The engineer came up with this, and unfortunately, he's not here to answer that question. But we can get an answer to that question.
That's pretty important.
It is an important question.
We've got neighborhoods here that Mr. Giannattino will tell you flood too often, and that's one of the big concerns we have. And then you said they no longer want to move the snack stand, the snack bar? They want to leave it where it is?
We're going to leave it where it is, yes. Okay. Originally, we had designed the parking garage maybe to go out that way to give a second entrance and allow the people who use the ball fields on the weekends to use that parking garage. But then it was noted to leave it where it is.
Yeah, and one of the other things in the original plan was to actually have trucks to be able to go behind the building, so that's no longer part of the plan?
Yeah, we have no trucks going behind. We still have the shipping in that area that's existing now, but we're going to take some of those trucks and put them onto the parking deck when needed. Okay. And all the cars that are parked there for the employees can now be put into this park. The parking garage, I think, needed 47 parking spaces, and we have double that.
Okay. And the requirement is 5 bays, and you want to keep it to 3?
We want to keep what's existing on the north side and add 2 small bays on the
other side.
South side. So I think it required 2 more bays than what we're showing here.
Okay. So sort of input and output, is that what the
yes.
idea is? Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments, or?
I'm just curious. This is the 3rd time I've seen this application in the last 2 years. Is this a formal application, or are we just sort of getting a feeling for it again?
So I think we now have a formal application for it. I mean, this for us, that we've been doing this job since it's a 2019 project. So we've been working on it for a long time to get it to this point. But we as a team are ready to move ahead with the blessing of the board.
I missed a little bit. I'm sorry. Somebody had something. The cafe. Does that have to do with the existing? You mentioned it earlier, I'm sorry. Snack bar. Snack bar. Does that have anything to do with that?
With the existing?
Snack bar.
I don't think so. I think-
It's totally separate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not sure if that's a permitted use. I don't believe it's permitted use in that zone.
We noted that on the site plan, that we don't know exactly what you would require. We don't believe that it should require additional parking because it's going to be for the commuters going to the train. It just gives them another opportunity getting on or off the train to get something, but we don't have any parking here for commuters.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's not a parking issue, it's a use issue. In other words...
It's not a use, it's not a permitted use. We'd have to ask for that permitted use.
And
So you'd have to get a use variance.
Yes.
is the parking, I remember looking at the site plan, and I think one of these is in the M district, and one manufacturing, and one is in the residential, like there's a house adjacent to it.
Yes.
And I don't know if the parking garage is an approved use for the residential district. Is that noted on, or is that your understanding?
So I would have to, that's one of the things I'll have to get back to you on, whether it is permitted or not. It's, I'd have to talk to our site engineer and our attorney.
Yeah, you really look carefully at the plan, because the zoning line passes right through this site, so you have to be very careful, make sure you're on the right.
Yeah, so
zone.
what we want to do is get some input tonight, and that way we know how to move ahead. So if this is a project that the village, I can say buy into, then we will move forward with everything that we need to do to come back here, whether it's use variances, area variances, and putting together a full set of architectural and engineering plans.
So I guess the question for the board members is, just at this very, very preliminary stage, what is your first feeling? Continue, don't continue?
It seems like bringing trucks in there anywhere other than where they're coming from now might pose an issue. I'm sorry. Does that plan include only trucks where you're adding the new bays? Are they coming in off of Ramapo Avenue, or will those also be near the bays where the 18-wheelers are used now?
Okay, they're going to come off of Ramapo Avenue, and we designed the parking deck where the entrance to the garage is right next to the existing building, so it's not anywhere close to West Park Place.
And when you say next to, you mean right where the residential street side is?
It's the parking garage itself would encompass that property, but the entrance to that garage would not be on the residential street. It's set to be right next to the existing buildings in the middle of the street. If you do have a copy of the site plan, you can see that the two trucks that are parked on that site to get up to that area are going to have to do a little extra navigation to back in, and they're willing to do this, so that way we don't have to come in at the front part of the corner, near the corner.
And your plans don't seem to match your site plan. I guess you're going to update everything to...
So I don't know if you do have the updated plans. Our expediter should have gotten everything there.
I have these, but they don't seem to show the loading in the right place.
So, but there's also a site plan that looks like
I have a
our...
site plan that shows the loading.
So does that show the upper deck?
It does. It shows the loading there. I just didn't see it on the plans. It shows an assembly line on the plans, I thought.
So...
Are you going to still be using the two loading docks in the back?
So the loading docks on the north side, we're leaving those loading docks where they are, but we're not adding any additional ones that are required.
Are you still using those docks?
Yeah, I think one of them won't be used anymore because it's right now used for shipping and receiving. But now everything's going to be just for shipping, and there won't be any receiving on the north side. So it's going to reduce the amount of truck traffic on that side of the building.
And the one on the top of the hill is also going to be used?
The one on the top is, yeah, it's the one on the corner of the building is still going to remain. So it's not, I'm not sure if it's going to continue to be used for shipping or just remaining because it's part of the building.
So it'll be a total of 5 altogether?
Okay. Do you have the text for the easement? Because I know there's concern expressed previously that the easement for the property to the north, that we'd like to see I'd like to see the full language of that easement, because where I was concerned that you weren't following the restrictions of the easement, but I didn't have the final language, so it would be good to include that if you're going to come back.
I think that was part of the issue the last time, is that there are two easements, and the original idea was to eliminate one of this side easement to get to the back of the property and do a trade between that easement and then being able to come out of the parking garage where the concession stand is. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to leave what's there, we're going to leave the way it is. We're not going to go after any easements.
Yeah, I'd just like to see the language for the existing easement. It's from the 1960s, so it's quite old. I'd like to understand if that's really
Okay.
still applicable.
We have all that. Our attorney has all that language.
That'd be great.
And looking at the site plan, you've got the building, and then you're going to have a parking lot essentially where the existing residential house is, that you bought
Yes.
that lot, right? It looks to me like there's one way in and one way out. So you're not going out onto the side street, it's in and out on Ramapo Avenue.
The in-out is where that one driveway is. We made sure we designed it that way.
So I can see getting an 18-wheeler in there, making the left and backing it out, backing it to the dock. How are they going to get it out?
So they're going to have to, so if you look at the lower left-hand corner of the plan, that whole area is left open for vehicles to back out. And they're gonna have to navigate it. And the owner said this is okay for him because it gives him what he needs and we don't encroach onto the residential area.
But they're backing out onto Ramapo Avenue?
So they're gonna, no, what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to turn down the parking lane a little bit, back all the way up, and then come down the ramp. That's why we have a lot of spaces in that area that there's no parking spaces. We were told that it's doable. The engineer said that this is doable to get the trucks that he's going to have can get in and out.
I don't see 18, and they don't have 18-wheelers going into the, like the ballpark area right now where the loading docks are, correct?
I'm sorry, what's...
You said usually, I mean, I've seen box trucks and stuff like that doing deliveries over on the north side of the building where the current bays are right now.
Yeah, he doesn't have, there's not really 18-wheelers coming in and tractor trailers. I'm not even sure a tractor trailer is going to get up here. But we're talking about up to 26 foot.
I'm concerned that a tractor trailer trying to navigate.
So I believe this is designed more for like a 26-foot box truck. I mean, just, that's about the limit of it. You know, we would have to design this for tonnage that engineering-wise would make it cost prohibitive. It's already going to be expensive to do, but cost prohibitive to try to get a tractor trailer up there. And I don't think the ramp itself can handle it. So.
Has there been a traffic study done at all?
We have to do the traffic study.
Okay. But it hasn't been done yet?
I don't think it's been done yet.
Okay. I would definitely like to hear from the engineer as far as how you're going to contain the runoff, because that's a huge, huge issue.
And I mentioned this is more for the board than for you, but if this were to move forward, my recommendation would be to ask the applicant have the board establish an escrow for the board to hire a planner to take a look at this, a planner who has planning capabilities, engineering, traffic, et cetera, to look at this and help the board, report back to the board on it, because this is if the board were to consider it, it needs, in my opinion, those things, and I think it's not unreasonable to ask for that, but I don't think that's for tonight. I just want to put that out there and see if anybody had any comment on it.
I think that's the right decision, Rob. We should definitely have the planner review. I had, sorry, one more question. It looks like the top deck of your garage is about 11 feet above sidewalk level. Is that right?
I'd say it's about 11 feet, yeah.
But that's within what you're calling the 50-foot side yard, so you're putting a 10-foot tall building or 11-foot tall building within the side yard setback?
The parking garage is set to be in the side yard, so we're going to need variances for that. We're also going to put,
I don't see that listed.
We're indicating a wall on the side of the parking garage to be a minimum of 4 feet tall, so that way any headlights would not shine into the neighborhood. It would stay behind a wall. And on the outside, we're going to put plantings along the edge and then beautify the parking garage so it doesn't necessarily look like a parking garage.
I don't see that variance listed in your table. It doesn't seem to have a variance requirement listed. But if you're saying it is, or you are going to get a variance, it should
Well, they have to apply, there is an asterisk for the minimum side yard, is that what you're talking about?
I guess the minimum side yard, the setbacks.
Non-conforming condition, but you're actually putting an 11-foot tall.
Oh, yeah, no.
So we do know that we're going to need variances. We're going to use variances. We're going to need area variances, side yard variances.
Accurately on your plan, though.
So I guess the idea tonight is to get some positive feedback, because the next step is getting all the engineers on board, meeting with the town planners, the town engineers, and then going through the next process. So,
Any other comments or
Feedback or?
anything, feedback?
I have a question on the lower level storage. What kind of storage are you planning to put in there?
So that's actually a good question. I wish my client was here to answer that. But I think he has, whether it's storing raw materials, I don't think he should be storing food outside, because his food needs to be refrigerated. But there's a lot of additional, there's boxes, there's crates, shipping containers that might have to, well, small containers to be able to ship everything out. I think that's the storage that could be out there, because it's not, even though it's covered, it's not really protected. And we don't need animals and rodents running through. So all the chocolates, all the food product would be inside the building.
Anybody else have any comments? All right, my suggestion is that we adjourn this and hold it over to October, and we'd love to hear from the engineer and bring your folks out, and let's get all of our questions answered, and obviously, we're going to discuss hiring the planner to review this, and it's not a small undertaking, so.
No, it's not.
I think we need to, do our due diligence.
Okay.
Can I just...
Sure, go ahead.
I don't know if there's any consideration. I know that you guys are talking about the parking deck and everything else. I know that if I lived on West, I would probably take a little bit of ownership with the fact that, there's a parking garage going right in next to my house. Is there any consideration maybe of thinking of moving the parking deck over to the other side where the ball fields are? And, once again, you have a big parking lot over there anyway, and then it's not in the view of residential homes. You also then don't have to worry about trucks coming in and out, of a different area, and it gives them access. I'm just throwing out for food for thought. I know that it's completely different. It's completely different than what you guys are proposing, but I don't know if there's ever been a thought process about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. We could look at it. I don't know if there's any other location to put the parking garage, because the manufacturing is on that second level as one level. We somehow need to get up there. So this means we only need to go up 11 feet. If we move it someplace else, we might go up even higher, and then we would lose the parking garage. Also, part of this site is steep behind the house. It drops down considerably. So getting underneath at least is not as difficult as it could be if we had to dig down the whole entire site. So it helps a little bit of the building.
Yeah, I do see that, the residents in that area probably would have a whole lot of pushback in reference to this. I don't think that, I think that, you're going to get a lot of loud voices and everything else screaming. Now, I think that, once again, if you were looking at it from the other side, I don't think that, I don't think that you're going to get as many people as upset about it. And once again, I could be wrong, I'm just making the assumption, right? And, but I do believe that maybe on the other side of the building, it might not be as big of a deal to some of the people in the neighborhood, considering a lot of the trucks are already going in that way and everything else is not really changing what's going on. So, once again, just...
We could look at it. We definitely can look at it.
And did you receive the comments from the fire inspector and the director of Department of Public Works?
I did see one one of them. Our expediter sent us 2 letters. One of the letters was for the wrong project.
Yeah, we've got copies here for you.
Okay, do you want me to come get it?
Sure. Right. Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn this to the October 18th meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Stanbridge, do I have a second? Second, Mr. McInerney, all in favor say aye. Aye, all opposed, motion carries.
Okay, thank
See
you.
you in October.
When's the next?
October 18th.
October 18th, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any old business?
The minutes.
Oh, that's coming up. We already run out of order once, we're not going to do it again.
Oh,
Have any new business? All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting that was held on August 30th, 2023?
I'll make a motion.
Motion, Mr. Stanbridge, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion, second, Mr. Dale, all in favor say aye. Aye, all opposed, motion carries. Any miscellaneous? Motion to set the October meeting for October 18th at 7 PM.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Mr. Halper, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. McInerney, all in favor say aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Dale, do I have a second?
Really?
I'll second it.
We can stay if you want. The motion, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries, meeting is adjourned.